We're Not Wizards Kickstarter preview. Theurgy by the Ministry of Meeples. There's always a certain level of nervousness when you first dive into a game, especially one where the words Kickstarter preview copy are attached. You're literally hoping that you aren't just a tertiary level of playtesting for the designer and you don't end up playing the benefit of the doubt card when things don't quite mesh. You don't often get the same experience in a professionally produced game where entire teams of playtesters might be used and there's not a sparing of feelings when it comes to criticism. It's not that I want to be overly critical of the creator for their attempts, but at the same time, if you want to be accepted as a professional, then you've got to be pushing yourself to being as close as you can to that level. Ministry of Meeples want you to take them seriously. Everything from the introduction note for the reviewers included in the box to the rule book in Theurgy suggests they are thinking about engagement with their potential audience from the moment you open the box. Theurgy is about faith, followers and worship, as you attempt as a small god to travel a hexagonal map, converting the masses to love, adore, but most of all believe in you enough to build a temple in your honour. Player count will define the number of temples that need build in order to secure your victory, and the game continues to play until one person's reached the required number. This is about domination, not rounds, and setting back for calculation and scheming can often lead to early punishment. Theurgy at its heart is an area control game, which introduces additional bells and whistles as the rounds progress, including mythical monsters to fight on your side. But before it even does that, it does a solid job of explaining to you the rules that you play by. Now, in my time, I've often ran into the enigma machines of tabletop when it comes to explaining how a game is meant to be played, where it's clear that blind play testing wasn't a thing that was considered, let alone enacted. Let's face it, it takes a long time to explain things down to a base level, include all those important examples. Try writing down instructions for making a cup of tea where you need to explain what a kettle is, and you'll get the general idea. For Theurgy, the rulebook contains not only examples but suggestions on how you should try to learn the game in the first place. It's impressive. It's refreshing. It takes you down the road to learning the game like a little bit quicker. The Ministry of Meeples could have hoped that a playthrough video might have done the hard work for them, but they took the more difficult route instead. Moves aren't tricky to begin with. Move your acolyte and convert some followers to the side within that hex, regardless of their existing colour if they're unprotected by not having their own acolyte. Or place one of your face tokens at the corner of a hex to strengthen your claim on that area. Play a miracle card to help your cause, or summon a monster to cause some ripples in the landscape and shake things up. Finally, and if you're feeling brave, test the faith of an area by causing an anomaly and see who everyone turns to, thus causing a temple to be built or ruined in that space. There's more though, because every god has its own special power that will come into play when one of the 4 actions is played, normally offering something extra on the basic action, but you can't repeat an action in the following round, so you can't go on a huge conversion spree across the land. So just like Scythe, there's some planning and scheming as the turns go on. Theurgy requires you to balance between building numbers and increasing faith before you push the build on that temple. It's all presented brilliantly. The artwork, even in its prototype form, just works extremely well to give an ethereal appearance to proceedings, and everything from the monsters to the gods themselves fit into the theme. It's so close to being the finished product because the soul of the game is already there, and there's clearly a huge amount of thought that's gone into everything here. As the rounds go on, the basics stay there, but the decisions you're making climb in complication as you're often trying to plan for eventualities as well as trying to build your own plan and attack, and so it's normal to expect some analysis paralysis. There's nothing more wonderful than swooping in and totally upsetting someone else's plans for domination and watching them crumble, having to retreat and start again. So because of the potential flip-flop nature, sometimes games will maybe stay past their bedtime, as the tide can turn in rounds back and forward very quickly, and you occasionally can step into a stalemate situation until someone blasts out a miracle card. It's not something likely to happen in every game, but it can mean that games will be more of an evening affair than just a quick hour. But there's so much care and attention to detail from the Ministry of Meeples, and well, they want you to play their game so much that it would be rude not to. Theurgy will be coming to Kickstarter in the first quarter of 2020. This preview copy of Theurgy was provided by the designer, and we were not paid for this preview, and the Ministry of Meeples have not guested on this podcast to date. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to support the show, then consider going to our Patreon and chucking us a buck, because it helps to keep the lights on, and it also helps us to support creating more content like this. Thank you very much for listening. Remember, stay safe, roll sixes, make something awful, and until the next time, goodbye.